Animal Hospital had barely launched when it became one of the biggest phenomena on Roblox. Within days, millions of players flooded into what many were calling the spiritual successor to Dandy's World. What looked like a simple game about patience, anomalies, and survival quickly reached numbers that few people thought were possible. But nobody expected what happened next. What should have been the rise of Roblox's next big success story quickly turned into one of the community's biggest controversy. And there's one important detail. Despite everything that happened, Animal Hospital is still growing. So the question is, how did a game surrounded by accusations, controversy, and cancellation attempts manage to survive? To understand that, we need to go back to the beginning. Animal Hospital isn't a game with years of history behind it. Unlike many of Roblox's biggest titles, its growth was incredibly fast. Before long, thousands of players were sharing theories, gameplay videos, and discoveries, while content creators pushed its popularity even further. According to members of the community, part of this growth happened during a particularly turbulent period for Roblox. Other games were facing controversies of their own, and many players were looking for something new. That's when Animal Hospital arrived. At first glance, there didn't seem to be anything revolutionary about it. The concept was simple: survive inside a hospital, take care of patients, and deal with increasingly strange anomalies. But sometimes, simplicity is all a game needs. Before long, the game had accumulated millions of visits, and its developers found themselves dealing with a problem most creators would love to have: too many people. With millions of players joining, an obvious need emerged. They needed a place where the community could gather theories, suggestions, bug reports, updates. The solution seemed simple: launch an official Discord server. At the time, nobody could have imagined that decision would completely change the game's story. According to statements later released by the team, the server grew far too quickly. What started as a small community space for fans soon turned into a server with tens of thousands of members. And that's when the problems began. With players of all ages joining every day, the team implemented several moderation policies. Among them were stricter rules regarding certain types of language and behavior. At first, none of this seemed particularly controversial. However, members of the community claimed that some of these rules were excessive, especially after certain internet slang and expressions began being restricted. For some people, it was simply an attempt to keep the community safe. For others, it was censorship. Over the following weeks, discussions about these rules started spreading across social media. Videos, posts, and comment threads quickly began attracting thousands of views. But this was far from the worst part. According to reports shared within the community, another problem was unfolding behind the scenes, a problem that even the development team didn't appear to recognize at first. Based on numerous posts from the time, some users claimed that punishments were being handed out inconsistently. People were allegedly being muted, banned, or removed without fully understanding why. At first, many assumed it was simply a consequence of the server's explosive growth. But the situation continued to get worse. That's when allegations involving a member of the moderation team began to surface. According to community reports, this individual was allegedly using their position to issue unfair punishments to various users. It's important to note that many details surrounding this period remain heavily debated within the community, and not every claim can be independently verified. Even so, one thing seems clear: the team realized they had a problem. According to documents and statements released afterward, the server was temporarily shut down so changes could be implemented. But by then, the damage had already been done. While the team attempted to reorganize things internally, the community continued to grow. And as more people joined, Animal Hospital received even more attention. Unfortunately, attention isn't always a good thing. Shortly afterward, another controversy began gaining traction. This time, it involved certain terms and behaviors circulating throughout the community. According to the developers, some moderators initially didn't understand the meaning behind certain expressions commonly used online. It wasn't until later that they realized some of them could be associated with inappropriate content. Once that happened, additional measures were implemented. However, for many players, those changes came too late, and that's when the situation stopped being just a disagreement over server rules. It began spilling into real life. According to numerous reports shared across social media, personal information belonging to members of the team began circulating online. Names, photos, private information. According to the team, some staff members began receiving threats and disturbing messages following these events. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a Roblox game anymore. It was about real people, and things continued to escalate. While some defended the team, others argued that everything happening was the result of mistakes that could have been avoided. The community was divided. To some people, Animal Hospital was the victim of a disproportionate backlash. To others, the developers needed to take responsibility for what had happened. But there was one allegation that would completely change how many people viewed this story, an allegation that spread across the internet almost overnight, and one that placed Animal Hospital at the center of an even bigger conversation. According to members of the community, One of the biggest controversies surrounding Animal Hospital involved the age of certain members of the moderation team. Posts began circulating online claiming that minors were occupying important positions within the server's moderation staff. Before long, the topic was everywhere. Videos, comments, discussions, accusations. For many people, this explained some of the problems the server experienced during its rapid growth, but the team offered a different explanation. According to statements released afterward, the individuals in question were 16 years old or older and served as volunteers in specific roles. The team also stated that sensitive reports were handled exclusively by adults. Even so, the controversy continued. After all, for much of the internet, the narrative had already been written, and as is often the case online, once a story starts spreading, it's incredibly difficult to control where it goes. But that wasn't the end of it. While the team was still dealing with criticism surrounding the Discord server, another accusation began to circulate. This time, it involved artificial intelligence. According to members of the community, certain materials used within the server had allegedly been created using AI tools. It didn't take long before people started questioning how much AI had actually been used by the team. The response came shortly afterward. According to documents released by the developers, the game itself did not use AI-generated artwork. Instead, they claimed the controversy involved secondary assets used within the Discord server that had been created without prior authorization. The team also stated that changes would be implemented to prevent similar situations in the future. For some people, that was enough. For others, it was simply another controversy added to an already long list. Meanwhile, Animal Hospital continued attracting thousands of new players every single day, and perhaps that's the most fascinating part of this entire story. Despite the accusations, despite the argument, despite the backlash, the game kept growing. Then something happened that very few people expected. Instead of remaining silent, the developers released a lengthy statement addressing nearly every issue being discussed by the community. According to the document, the team admitted they weren't prepared to handle growth on this scale. They acknowledged that their staff was too small. They acknowledged mistakes involving moderation. They acknowledged that some decisions could have been handled better, and they promised changes. That may have been the single most important factor in this entire situation. Throughout their statement, the developers repeatedly emphasized that Animal Hospital was no longer a small project. Millions of players were now part of the community, and that came with a much greater level of responsibility. They also stated that numerous changes had already been implemented. New policy, new internal procedures, changes regarding volunteer recruitment, stricter rules. According to the team, many of these changes were already in place before most of the community even became aware of the controversy. But one question continues to be asked to this day. Did Animal Hospital actually survive the backlash? The numbers seem to suggest that it did. Even after weeks of controversy, the game continues to receive millions of visits, while new players discover it every day. Does that mean all criticism was unfair? Not necessarily. Throughout this entire story, there seems to be one thing both supporters and critics can agree on. Mistakes were made. The difference lies in how people interpret those mistakes. Some believe the team learned from the experience and took the necessary steps to fix their problems. Others argue that certain events should never have happened in the first place. One thing, however, is difficult to deny. Animal Hospital accomplished something many projects never do after facing a major controversy. It survived. Today, the game remains one of the most talked about titles on Roblox, while its community continues to debate everything that happened. And perhaps that's what makes this story so interesting, because it isn't just about a game. It's about what happens when a small project becomes too big, too fast. It's about responsibility, it's about community, and it's about how the internet can turn any mistake into something discussed by millions of people. Now, I want to hear your opinion. Did the Animal Hospital team do enough to earn back the community's trust? Was the backlash justified, or did the situation spiral completely out of control? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts on this story. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Animal Hospital is changing fast, and we'll be here to cover every update, every new development, and every controversy that comes its way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.